Shut up and sit down.
Howdy there guys, it's Andy from Bigmeks Workshop Painting Studio, and this is a War Machine or Hordes figure. It's a kind of a voodoo croc. The guy's called Maelok the Dreadbound, and it's a really interesting sort of dead crocodile. Got this whole voodoo Louisiana sort of vibe going on. It's a really cool, interesting fig, and there's lots of little details stacked about him, like little war wounds, as you can see. He's got these weird candle things going on as well. So it's a really interesting one, and I thought I'd go for something a little bit more earthy, a bit more natural, and let's just see how things go along. So as you can see, as always, we've got the black prime down, and we're starting off with a STRAKEN green by GW. Now this is going to be predominantly GW paints. I decided I wanted to use the GW paints to make a more natural colour, which is interesting because the GW paint schemes tend to be quite bright. So once I've got the upper once I've got the armoured section of the bodies down, go on to the underside, which is a much lighter colour because I'm going like a proper alligator sort of look. And this is OGRYN CAMO, as you can see, and this is going all over the underbelly, around his muscle sections, around the less armoured areas of what a crocodile would have, as you can imagine. As you've seen on nature programs and what have you, or if you've seen crocs for real, there tends to be a lighter colour underneath. So he's got some open wounds everywhere, because I think this guy's meant to be dead, which makes him being a voodoo croc even more interesting. So we're going for FLESHTONE red into the injuries, just as a base colour, give us something to work with. As you can see, I'm just getting the bases down right now. I'm not doing anything interesting, no difficult stuff here. To start off with, just getting all the colours into place. So he's got some kind of bone necklace thing going on as well, and all the sort of spinal columns and bones and all that sort of getting based up in Steel Legion drab, including his rib cage, which is also open to the outside world. I've never painted a model quite like this. It's like it's kind of like painting a regular undead guy, but with a few twists to the model. And he's also got some leather strapping, so I'm going to go for RHINOX hide to have a base colour for the leather straps. There's a few of them knocking around all over him, so we're getting a good, nice, rich colour with that, just to give us something to work with. And again, this just separates all the different textures from each other. And another part of him is obviously he's got some kind of flesh and shrunken heads and all that sort of stuff going on. So I'm using CADIAN flesh. I figured it'd probably have some have a human sort of flesh rather than an animal hide, as well he's an animal. So I wanted to do something a bit more on that sort of side of things. So now we're getting to add some detail in, and pretty much the entirety of the underneath and all of the skin work is getting washed with AGRAX Earthshade. Now obviously I've thinned this down, so I'm going to use a couple of layers just to build up that colour where I need it. And once it's set, he's got these kind of weird candlestick holder things on his back. Really not quite sure what we're going on with them, but they seem to be sort of sticking out of his out of the centre of his back somewhere. And this is painted up in Steel Legion drab. No, and this is painted up in XV88. So now he's also got some ropes attached to him. I've gone for kind of a faded sort of fishing line sort of colour. I'm going with a grey. They seem to be like holding bits of him together. Maybe it's kind of stitching, or sort of maybe it's some kind of old fishing line what he's sort of caught up in. I don't know. So I went for a grey, so it's a nice natural earthy colour as well. And into the injuries, we're going with Drakenhof Nightshade. Now, the reason I went for this is because it's really dark. Obviously, it's a blue going over the red, So it's going to really make the muscle textures stand out, and you're going to get a really interesting effect once all the colours have dried. So starting to tidy up the underskin now, and back with the OGRYN camo, and this is just to get the colour back to a sort of a neutral sort of stage. We're wanting the AGRAX to shade it but not stain it, so we're just starting to build up with the OGRYN camo just to tidy things up a little bit, and also act as a preliminary highlight. Now we're going to start adding some highlights to this now, and this is Flayed One Fresh, Flayed One Flat. I'm going to start adding some proper highlights now, and this is Flayed One Flesh, along with the OGRYN camo. So around about 75% OGRYN camo at this stage. Just adding some nice gentle highlights into the underskin where the light would naturally hit. Also is going to just start to bring out the detail of the muscle texture and such, and really starting to leaving plenty of the original colour there visible, but adding some natural highlights. So I've added some more Flayed One into it, and we're going to start bringing them highlights up now. As you can see, it's around about 50-50, maybe a little bit more in favour of the Flayed One. I'm just starting to bring the highlights together now, and what we're doing, we're just gently making the definition on the model a lot more interesting. So now it's pretty much just Flayed One Flesh now, and we're just starting to add some more nice highlights on the more raised areas, the more prominent ones. It's just going to make the entire body look a lot more interesting. And then what we're going to do is going to go over with a really thin Euphonium camo shade. It's going to add a sort of a green hue to it, so it's going to look a lot more natural, a lot more earthy, and it's just going to bring all those colours together nicely. Now the reason it's really thin is because I didn't want it to stain too. I didn't want it to pull too heavily. I wanted the colour to be much more natural. I want it to be much more stained. And as you can see, onto the human flesh. This is REKLAND flesh shade. It's going all over the flesh strips, just to add some definition to it. So onto the injuries, what they are. This is Wazdaka Red, and we're using it to highlight and tidy up all the weird body part things what we've got showing through. We're also making sure to leave some of the Drakenhof visible where possible. There's a lot of detail in these cut-in sections, so just take your time and let them natural shades just stand out a little. And Evil Sun Scarlet's going on top next. As you can see, it's got just brightening those muscle textures up, really going to make them stand out, and what you're going to get is an interesting effect with that dark blue and dark red just showing through slightly, just to add that depth and definition in. So he's got loads of candles, as I've already said, and we're going for CADIAN stone. Now, as you can see, some of the model has already started chipping because Privateer Press, they make some lovely models, really interesting, but they are usually metal or a weird kind of resin plastic. The metal ones, though, as you can imagine, are notorious for chipping. So we're going to start adding a bit more depth and texture into the bones and the injuries and that. So AGRAX EARTHSHADE, going all over the model again. Again, really thin, just bringing those colours together. And washes are a really good way of binding highlights together. It really does soften the break between a darker and a lighter colour. Onto the CADIAN stone again for the bones. And this is again CADIAN stone, just using the the base colour as a natural highlight over the top of all the washes, and just using this the base colour to tidy everything up before we start doing the highlights proper. After the Carrack Stone, it is Screaming Skull, and Screaming Skull is a really good colour for highlighting a lot of things. As you've seen on some of the videos, you can use it as a highlight for basically anything if you use it as a dry brush. You just got to be careful, but obviously it's perfect for any kind of bone work, and it just goes over lovely over the Carrack Stone. So now I've gone with MOJAVE White, which is a scale 75. As I didn't want to mix a colour to get the natural highlight over the Screaming Skull. I wanted something a bit easier to work with. So the MOJAVE White's a natural highlight for Screaming Skull, and anything around about that sort of level. So back over with some AGRAX Earthshade. This is super thin, as you can see, and what that's doing is adding a little bit of colour to the bone work, and it's going to start bringing some definition from the model details as well. So a little bit more with the highlighting, this time with MOJAVE White again, and just starting to really focus on some of the most extreme areas of the bone work. As you can see, just using a really narrow brush, and this is just to tidy everything up where the washes might have stained a little bit more heavily than you expected or desired. And it's just there just to finish off those highlights before you move on with maybe another colour or a final highlight on top. So now we're going to start painting the upper scales, and this is CASTELLAN green again. Going back to the base colour, as you can see, we're starting to. I'm trying to keep the paint separate on each scale. In some areas this is more difficult than others. As you can see, there's the scales on his nose area much finer, much less cut in. But you do what you can, and you're going to get a real nice effect. So now we're doing Deathwheel Forest, and this is going over the entirety of the upper areas of the armoured scaling, being used as a nice highlight over the CASTELLAN green. And now we're using Death Guard green, and this is going to be focused towards the most extreme upper areas of the scales, the leading edges, just to brighten them up a little bit, bring a little bit more colour to them, make them look a little bit more interesting. Once we've done that, we're moving forward with some more shading again. This is a Phonian Camo shade. It's going into across all of the scales of the upper side, staying away from where possible from the underneath. I'm just going to make the colours really blend together, and obviously add a bit more depth into the areas between the scales as well. And back over just with some of the other colours we've used, the CASTELLAN green and the Deathwheel Forest, just to tidy things up where the model's a little bit more stained than you desired, and just to tidy this just tidies things up a little bit. So this is Brassy Brass by Vallejo, but I've levelled it up as Victorian Brass because that's an equal colour what you could use. Obviously, any of the brass colours from GW would work equally well, and this is a nice colour. And it's got a little bit of jewellery and some weird sort of globe things on, which you're just getting highlighted up with the various different metals for that. Onto the ropes, and this is DAWNSTONE, just to add a little bit more depth to the model. It's a nice bright mid-grey. It's just going over the original colour, just to brighten things up and make the ropes look a little bit more interesting. So the teeth are done much the same way as the bone. Screaming Skull, Mahogany White over the AGRAX colours. I'm also going back over some of the other bones just to brighten them up. Add a little bit more of a highlight here and there where I felt like we're missing it, just missing a little bit. So the candles I've gone back over with the Flayed One Flesh, kind of a yellowy cream colour. This is really nice with that. As you can see, I've painted red onto the flames of the candles. Kind of like makes them look a little bit like eggs, fried eggs at this point. I do change my mind. I go back and alter them to a yellowy colour, make them look a lot more natural, and a lot less like some kind of weird gone off egg. Purity White obviously is the top highlight for the candles. Never painted candles before. This was a weird one for me, so I tried keeping it really simple. I'm definitely gonna have to revisit candles at some point and get the colours right, but there you go. It's had its pin wash. As you can see, it's, all the candles and things are all finally done. The pin wash really does bring out the detail in the model. As you can see, really get a nice close-up view on those scales, and it just brings everything together. Interesting model to paint, this one. Don't think I've ever painted any crocodile before at all, and there's a few things I'd like to try again. Not my best work, not by a long way, but it was different. It was very different for me to try, give it a try. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching this, and I really hope you enjoyed it, or at least very least learned something. Please check us out on our other videos here on YouTube. If you're interested in helping out the studio, check us out on Patreon as well. You get all access to our videos a little bit early, and there's several other benefits as well. It really does. It really does help us out and helps keep a light on at the end of the day. Anyway, guys, that's enough from me waffling away. I will catch you in the next one. Ta-ra. Also, thank you to our affiliate links, which is the Outpost and Element Games, where you can get your standard 15 to 20% discount on all of your hobby needs. Please check them out. The links are in the description. And every time you do an order from them, we get 5% store credit at no cost to you, so it really does help out, keep the lights on, and get new content in for you guys. Anyway, thank you for watching this video, and we shall catch you in the next one. Bye bye.